Welcome back, everybody. Thursday morning show rolls on. Pretty pumped about our next guest to chat all things football with. His team that he's coming up with, St. Michael-Albertville, will be taking on Moorhead tomorrow. It's the Spuds' regular season home finale as they will be taking on a St. Michael-Albertville team that's always got talent. Bison Hall of Famer Jared Essler joins us here this morning to get us ready for the Knights and the Spuds. First, can you, out of your days in Minot, a guy that frequents our show, one Andy Delabar, about his athletic greatness at Bishop Ryan, can you describe that for us, please?
Yeah, Andy's a great friend of mine. Andy was a sophomore tight end when I was a senior quarterback. And, you know, when we play high school football in North Dakota in the 90s, that means you're running the old split back veer that the Bison were making hay with. So, you know, that was kind of how we grew up and we cut our teeth. And, you know, now we're both high school football coaches, and it's fun to see him and catch up with him and the success he's having over in Lemoore.
And now his daughter's going to be a Bison. I don't know if you saw that this week. She's going to go participate in track, which obviously you did. Take me back. I've never asked you this on your recruiting pitch. Did any issue say you could do both track and football? Because you can't do that anymore now.
Yeah, that was a big part in the D2 days. There was a handful of us that did that. Marcus Johnson,
yep.
Alan Burrell. We had 3 of our 4 legs on the 4x1 were football guys. So those were certainly fun times, and that was really probably the biggest reason why I picked Fargo was, I had the opportunity to, obviously play football, but also, run at the Drake Relays, which is really
awesome.
Really a cool event. And I'm so grateful that the coaches were able to make that work for me, and it was a lot of fun.
That track team, you mentioned those guys. Alan just went in the Hall of Fame. Marcus is in the Hall of Fame. You're in the Hall of Fame. Did you guys ever lose?
We had a good run. It was fun, and one of my real mentors was Coach Don Larson.
Yeah.
And still keep in touch with Lars, and it's a lot of ways, the way that I coach today is kind of a reflection of Coach Lars. So he's been great.
That experience of having that kind of success, how much did that help in football and vice versa, that you had success on the football field, you were a captain of the football team? How much did that bleed over to each other, Jared?
Yeah, the sports are kind of polar opposites. You get the individual aspects of track and field while contributing to a team. But, in a lot of ways, football is this ultimate team game, that your role is really defined by how you contribute and fit into the puzzle with the other 10 guys. And they were really good compliments for me. And sometimes football coaches can kind of be uptight creatures, that's where it was really fun to be around, the process of kind of daily improvement with Coach Lars. And just really a simple thing. I mean, Lars used to say, run hard and turn left and jump if you have to, that was track and field. And that's certainly not, the simplicity of football. There's so many more variables that go into it than that. And so I think that was a good kind of experience for me in those formative years of my life that kind of have shaped me into being the type of high school teacher and coach that I am now.
Take me back, Jared, what you remember being in school, hearing North Dakota State is going to make the move to Division I in the midst of your collegiate career.
Yeah. What's crazy, what's kind of lost in the focus of all the success the Bison have had is we were 2-8 in 2002. We bottomed out, and we had a rash of injuries, and we were a really bad Division II football team. And the move to Division I was announced in 2003, and we hadn't played a game yet.
Yeah.
And and then very quickly with Coach Bowl, we went out to Montana and we got a big win, and the people started to jump on the bandwagon. We went 8-3 in that first year, and we were ranked in the top 25 of that first year of the move up to Division I. Scheduling was really a nightmare. We played a NAIA team from Montana, and we found a couple of other D2 games, and we kind of pieced it together with, some other teams that were transitioning up to Division I, and played in the Great West Conference, the now defunct conference. So what's been so cool is to see the success, from 200 miles away. It's been a lot of fun to be a Bison alum in the Twin Cities with all the success they're having. And it's just been night and day from when, I was there in the early 2000s.
Take me back. Kolpak has written about it. He's told me about that 2002 season where you could literally hear people yelling in the stands. How bizarre was that inside the Fargo Dome?
Yeah, yeah, it was strange times, and then at the same time, it flipped relatively quick.
Yeah.
Fargo's a football town, and when you have a winner, they come out in droves, and there was just kind of a blip in our radar there. But because when I got there in 2000, I redshirted, and we made it to the D2 national semifinals, and we lost to Delta State. So we were, had some success early, and then kind of in the middle of my career, we hit some tough times, and then we had some success late with the coaching change and Coach Bull coming in. So, but yeah, there was, the highs and lows that go along with athletics. I kind of got to experience both of those things in my time.
When you heard that they were going to institute a new trophy for the South Dakota State game, in your wildest dreams, did you ever imagine what it's become now? It's nationally televised again this year with the Bison and the Jacks.
Yeah, the big game for us was the nickel trophy.
Yeah.
With the Bison, that was the big one, and we certainly got up for South Dakota State, but that rivalry's really taken off, and it's probably a credit to the success that they've had in Brookings. They've done a really remarkable job with recruiting and facility upgrades and the development of talent, and that's been a fun rivalry to see continue.
All right, so this week's game is always special, considering I know when you're facing Moorhead and a guy like Kevin Feeney, a former Bison as well. What is this like for you guys, both having played in Fargo and now you've coached against each other for so long?
Yeah, it's going to be fun. I know I'm going to have a lot of relatives in the Fargo-Moorhead area that'll come to the game, and a lot of connections, and it'll be fun to kind of catch up with them. And it kind of feels a little bit like going home. I love your show, and I love the Bison updates, and it's kind of always fun to hear, you and Kolpak and McFeely, and it seems like old times, and so I'm always kind of staying in tune with that, region of the state, and it'll be fun to kind of go back and see some old friends and see if we can put 4 good quarters together against the Spuds.
Tell me about your team this year. I know you got a bunch of young guys playing. How has this season played out so far?
Yeah, we're starting 16 underclassmen. We're starting a freshman at nose guard. He's really talented, but he's going to be, for a school like us with 2,000 plus students, that's pretty rare.
Yep.
We've only got 14 seniors. In a typical year, we have 35 to 40 seniors. This has just been a small group trending all the way up, and so we're young and we've been inexperienced. We're 1-5. Our one win was against Wayzata. We just played Maple Grove last week, and the Crimson are kind of
they're all right. They're
of
pretty
6A.
good.
Yeah, and we had a fourth quarter lead against the Crimson, and we just couldn't tackle the running back in the fourth quarter, and that was the difference. But I guess what I'm saying is the progress has been measurable. Like we've seen improvements from our kids who are, now they've got 4 or 5 starts under their belts, and they're starting to get better. And sometimes there's a narrative that when you struggle early, that's the same type of team you're going to be late, and especially with high school football, you can just see them improve from one practice to the next. And the kids have kind of bought into that process of improvement, and they really are getting better. And I hope we can take another big step forward tomorrow.
Now, you have been in 6A for a while. This is Moorhead's first year. What are people maybe finding out now, Jared, that we didn't know going in about what the level of football is like in 6A, especially in the Twin Cities?
Yeah, I would say really the depth of the rosters allows you to practice differently. And, there's good coaches in every level, but when you give good coaches depth, now you have 11 defensive starters that for 2 hours every day are practicing just defense. And, yeah. 11 guys on offense who are just practicing offense. And then your playbooks get bigger. Your opponent scout can be more specific. And so that was the big part. We made the jump 10 years ago. That was the big jump for us, is like, hey, we can't just run the same plays out of the same formations anymore, because teams will get you scouted and they'll have a way to stop it. And so, with that regard, it kind of stresses you with, how much can your kids handle, how many different coverages, how many different blitz packages, and then, offensively, finding creative ways to make simple concepts look different by, moving the pieces around and trying to be less predictable with with that opponent scout that is just naturally easier when you have bigger rosters.
This Moorhead team has obviously not been 100% without Jet Feeney. Are you preparing for Jet Feeney tomorrow night?
You know, the Dryberg kid that's been playing is pretty tough.
Yes.
He's a big, tall kid who's been pretty accurate. You know, they just scored 5 touchdowns against Eden Prairie last week. So
on the road.
You know, and the skill players are really, really talented. This Moorhead team probably has the best foot speed out of anybody we've seen so far this year. They got some guys who can really run. So, you know, maybe there's some investigative journalism you can do up there in Fargo Moorhead.
Hey, I've been trying, man. I've been trying.
Yeah, we will prepare for whoever the Spuds put out there. So that'll be fun.
By the way, you are a hardened head coach by that answer you just gave me. We will prepare for whoever we have to play. That is a perfect head coach speak answer there. I wanted to have you on as well because I don't know if fans up here fully appreciate what the playoff format is, Jared. Give us what we're going to find out a week from Saturday. The bracket comes out. How does this work for 6A football?
Yeah, so there's 4 pods. Most of those pods are in the metro. You know, Moorhead's the only kind of outstate outlier. But basically there's a West Metro pod, a North and East, and a South Metro pod. And we will seed 1 through 8 in those pods, just like a regular section tournament. But then we won't play within that section. Then we'll take those 4 pods of 8 and we'll put that into an NCAA basketball style 32 team bracket. Okay. And you know, if you get the 3 seed in the West, then you're going to play the 6 seed from either the North, the South, or the East. And then the 2-7 matchup will be those other 2 teams. So there's no chance that you will play another team from the regular season in the first 2 rounds.
That's awesome.
You know?
I love that. That's really cool.
Yeah. It's really cool to see the bracket play out. And, you know, then the high school league has these templates. I think there's 4 bracket templates, and then they rotate them each year. So you start to see kind of different matchups. And it's kind of fun because you get to see some East Metro teams on film or some South Metro teams, and then all of a sudden they're your first round opponent. And so it's kind of a fun way, and it gives that NCAA March Madness type of feel to it.
My last thing on it, so it doesn't necessarily seeded by record, right? Like does the QRF come into this, or how do you get seeded, I guess?
Yeah, you know, you're not seeded 1 through 32. You know, you're seeded 1 through 8 based off of those other teams. Okay. So really those head-to-head matchups really play out a lot, you know. And so, you know, for example, when we play the Spuds, I think there'll have some ramifications between potentially being a 4, 5, or 6 seed when that section tournament comes out, or when the section seedings come out.
Yep.
And you know, that'll be important for us because you're potentially looking at a home playoff game or you know, a 5 versus a 6 seed.
Last thing, this is awesome, man. We got to do this more often because I love talking with you. Who is the toughest guy you had to tackle in your college days? Who is that? Who comes to mind?
Yeah, we, you know, South Dakota State always has some sledgehammer running backs. And they had a guy by the name of Josh Ronick, who at the time was a Division II I think he had the NCC record for most carries or most yards, and he was a sledgehammer. So I tackled him once, and I felt it on Sunday morning. So
it's great to catch up, bud. I'll look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Thanks so much for doing this, and good luck tomorrow night. Okay.
Yeah. Thanks, Tom.
Good to see you, bud. There he goes, Jared Essler, head football coach at St. Michael-Albertville. His Knights got a big one tomorrow night with the Moorhead Spuds. That'll be part of a huge night of First Down Friday. We'll see if Jet Feeney will play. Jet's been out for the last month plus as we're down to the final 2 games of the regular season. Moorhead has this one, and then they end the regular season at Edina next Wednesday. We'll take our final break. We come back. We'll wrap things up, get you ready for a Dynamite Sports Thursday. Hot Mic wraps after this on WDAY Extra, KSFL, KMBN, and Inforum.com.